Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are diving into IPTables, the firewall built into Linux. So what I will explain in this video is what IPTables is and how it works, how to create firewall rules step by step, and how to testify and verify if the firewall is working. And by the end you will have a fully functional firewall set up on Linux. So stick around and let's get started. So what is IPTables? IPTables is a packet filtering firewall which is built into Linux. It controls how network traffic is handled on your system. Let's break it down. I will show you an image on the screen and you will be able to read it by yourself as well. So packets. Every time like you send or receive data over the network, it sends packets. And filtering. IPTables decides what to do with these packets based on rules. And this is exactly what IPTable does with network packets. You can think of this example. Okay, we have a bouncer at a nightclub, and you can think of this of him as the firewall. So what does he do? He checks who can enter, and the firewall basically controls the allowed traffic. The bouncer also decides who should be kicked out, and the firewall also controls or uh, has block traffic set to it, or yeah, you can set it as well. And also the bouncer can tell someone like a VIP guest, like he can redirect them to a specific place. And also the firewall does this as well with the traffic, it can forward it somewhere. So now we will check first if IPTables is installed by itself. You guys can open a terminal and here you will need to type sudo IPTables and check the version. So if you guys see a version here pop up, that means that it is installed. However, if it's not installed and your Linux distribution is Ubuntu or Debian, then you will need to type this install IPTables and click enter and have it installed. And if your distribution is CentOS or RHEL, then you will need to type this sudo install IPTables and click enter and install it. Now let's move on to configuring the firewall. Now we will need to understand chains in IPTables. So IPTables organizes rules into chains, and you can think of chains as categories of rules for different types of traffic. Now there are three main chains. Input controls the incoming traffic. Output manages outgoing traffic, and forward. This is used if your machine is routing traffic, so it's not really needed for a single machine. Now let's see if there are any existing rules. /l. Now as you can see is a list of rules, which it may be empty if you're setting up IP tables for the first time. Now to make sure that we only allow traffic that we explicitly approve, we set default policies to drop all incoming and foregoing traffic, and we can do this by running these commands. Now let's add rules to allow necessary services. First of all, I will allow SSH on port 22 for remote access. SSH allows remote login to your system, and if you're using like a cloud server or another PC to connect, you must allow SSH first. So, and you do that by typing this, sudo Now, explanation. So, this part here, this appends a rule to the input chain for incoming traffic. This part here matches TCP packets, and this part here matches packets with destination port, which is 22 for SSH, and this just accepts the connection. And as you guys can see here, if you run this command again after creating the new service, then you can see here in the input chain the TCP with destination port 22. Well, we haven't, so like we haven't connected like from any other device here, so everything is set by default to 0. I will also allow HTTP and HTTPS traffic for web servers. So if you're like hosting a website, we need to allow HTTP on port 80 and HTTPS on port 443. So we need to type these following commands. So they are exactly the same, but we just changed the destination port. Let's also allow ICMP or ping requests. Ping is useful for like testing connectivity, so let's allow it. So we will need to remove the destination port, and instead of TCP, we want ICMP packets. So this is the rule. We allowed it. So this part here, this matches ICMP packets, and this just accepts it. Now let's check the rules that we have created. Okay, so there are the 3 rules. This is for SSH, this is for HTTP, this is for the HTTPS, and this down here should probably be the ICMP one that I just declared now. Lastly, I will show you how to block a specific traffic from like an unwanted IP. So you will need to type this. So this here, and you will need to write your own IP. I will do it, but I will show you later. So this matches traffic from this IP, and this just dropped the connection. Now let's check if our firewall works. So first we will need to find the IP of our system, of our, well, yeah, our Kali machine. So this is the IP. I will now try to ping it since we allow the ICMP service. So now that we have the IP address, I will go on my Windows machine and I will try to ping it. And as you can see, the ping is working. Now, if I go back to my Kali Linux machine and run this again, as you can see, it's now different. So now there are 4 packets that have been accepted. Now let's also test if we can like remotely connect to our computer or to our machine, the Kali Linux one, using SSH, since we allowed it. So if we go to the Windows machine and try to log in from there, as you can see now we are in. We are allowed. Yep, it's now working. So now I will show you how to block that specific IP target that I was talking about, and then try to ping it just to show you that the IP stopping the IP target that we assigned to drop all the packets that it sends to us work. Okay, so you will need to run this. So the thing is, or the reason why we do this here is because we want this rule to be at the top of the table. So if I run this rule here, you can see that the drop is at the top of the table because previously where when I assign this, the drop is at the bottom, and I have assigned the ICMP rule to accept them. So if you were to leave this rule of stopping this specific IP at the bottom, then when you try to ping, it's going to find this rule first, and it's going to allow the ping to go through, and then at the end it's going to find this rule. So if you run this command, you're going to put this rule at the top of the table, and when the firewall starts reading this, it's going to read the drop first. So now that I have already done it, so it's in the table, I will try to ping it and to show you that the pings are not going through. So if I ping this, nothing is gonna go through now. So the connection is dropped because of the firewall. And none of them are received. So if we go back and if I run the IP table, so as you can see, from 240 it went to 480. Basically everything from this IP address is dropped. Now the last thing that I wanted to show you guys is IPTables rules reset after a reboot. So if you want to save them permanently, you need to run this sudo IPTables. Sorry. And you press enter here and they will be saved permanently. So you won't need to like rewrite them every time you restart your or reboot your computer. And yeah, you have successfully set up an IPTables firewall on Linux. So what did we learn today? How IPTables filter network traffic, how to allow and block connections, and how to test and verify firewall rules. Let me know in the comments what other cybersecurity topics should I cover, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more content. Thanks for watching and stay secure.